Welcome to JG's Fight Talk, sponsored by Rich's Boxing, and with me now, Carl Greaves. How you doing, Carl?
Hey, Joe, you right, mate?
Yeah, really good, mate. Really good.
Top man.
Buzzing that boxing is back up and running, and it's full throttle now, isn't it? Right the way through till about May time. Yeah, it's nice to have it back, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's great for the big boys, the ones that's got TV, but obviously the smaller promoters like myself, it's still tough. We're still waiting on the all clear for when the board's going to stop the testing in the hotel bubble and what have you. So as soon as they give us the all clear, I'll be back promoting myself.
Yeah, it's been a funny old time, isn't it? And you know, with the bubbles, and you know, we had Eddie doing his matches in a garden, and you know, not Madison Square Garden, but literally his back garden. But
Yeah, it's been crazy times, mate. Crazy. But listen, it's been fantastic as well. We've had some great fights. We've had probably a lot better fights than we would have had if it wasn't in a pandemic. So hats off to the promoters, obviously Frank Warren, Eddie Earn, NSA, all the ones that's been able to promote, because they have put some good shows on, and fair play to them.
yeah, do you think we would have seen half those fights if we hadn't had a lockdown?
No way. No way. I mean, we've set the stall now, we've set the goalpost, haven't we? So, you know what I mean? It's you're going to have to live up to expectations now, because the public will be demanding these sort of fights all the time, and it's going to be hard to build a prospect now. They're going to be pushed into fights sooner than they should be, to be honest. But it's great for the punters. It's great for the paying customers. It's just hard now for a manager being able to build a fighter like he used to be able to.
Yeah. Have you, up to this point, apart from one particular fight, I know you'll say it's your favourite, but any other fights have stood out for you up to this point during the sort of the lockdown period? Is there any that you've looked at and thought, bloody hell, that was a good one?
Yeah, there's been some interesting one. Obviously, had a lot of interest in the Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yard fight. It wasn't a firecracker, but Yard boxed great, very intelligent, usually jabbed his head off all night, and that was a good performance. Obviously, we had Terry Harper and Natasha Jonas, great fight. Cheeseman Eggington. We've had some great fights, haven't we? I mean, obviously, I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but yeah, we've had some fantastic fights, not just in Britain, all over the world. I mean, there's been some good fights on the top ranked shows as well. I mean, I can't remember the names. There was a fight in the super featherweight lightweight division. Oh, I think there was like 3 or 4 knockdowns in a couple of rounds. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, and we obviously had the Chocolatito and Estrada the other night.
Can't forget that. That was on Saturday. Yeah. I watched it the next day on DAZN, and what a fight! I mean, it was hard. We didn't want to see a loser really, because it was that good a fight. It was hard on the loser because it was so close. It could have gone either way. A lot of people thought Chocolatito, whatever his bloody name is, said
it's a mouthful, mate. It's a mouthful.
Yeah, he thought he should have got the nod, but it went the other way, didn't it? So fair play, but great fight.
Yeah, I was gutted for him, to be honest, because I thought up to probably the 11th, he seemed like you know, it was close, wasn't it? You could have said it was a draw if there was 11 rounds, but Chocolatito just seemed to nick that last round for me. But like you say, one of the judges, I think, was well out. You know,
terrible scorecard, terrible.
He's been
questions to be answered with scorecards like that. It's happening too often now as well. I just can't understand how these judges are just scoring these fights so different. I know you have different angles and different sides of the ring from judging from, but it's just hard to believe that these scores are so different to the other judges, and it's not good. It looks bad when you get a scorecard like 115, 113, and then you're getting a 117, 111. I mean, it's just terrible.
Yeah, I spoke to Wayne Alexander the other day, and
good lad, Wayne, good fighter.
And he turned around and he said, you know, because he's a referee himself now, he turned around and said, well, surely we should have more ex-fighters being judges, because you know, they've been there, they've done it, that, you know, they know what they're looking at, you know, that maybe it should be more down that route now. And he said, you know, there's a lot of them are older boys now, aren't they, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of old ones now that's coming to the end. We've got some very, very good judges and refs in the country. I'm not knocking them, but the thing is, behind closed doors, they're only using 8-star referees and judges. So there's a lot of these judges that haven't had a job for over a year now. These referees and judges haven't had a job for over a year now because of the pandemic. They're not using anybody who's not an A-star. So it'd be nice to bring them in now and obviously get some fresh faces in there, because it's the same judges and referees all the time on these shows, just rotation after rotation. And we've got plenty of other good ones in the country that we could do with bringing in now, because obviously they're not being used and it's not fair. They could lose out and obviously give the license back.
I think generally the last sort of couple of shows, I know, especially with the Sky Sports sort of shows, you're looking at sort of the same 4 or 5 names, as you say, just going round and round, you know, and it's like they're just taking a different position each time. But it's a fun, as you say, it's a strange time. So they've got to work with what they can, but, you know, I understand that. But it's, you know, other people have got mouths to feed as well, haven't they? So
yeah, definitely, yeah.
But Carl, we're here to talk about you. Forget all the referees, forget all the judges. Mate, your boxing career, where did it all begin?
Yeah, it's been a long time I've been at it. My first fight was 1989. Started boxing. My first ever went down to the boxing club at 9 years old. I wasn't old enough. They let me train that night. And then I went back when I was nearly 12 with a couple of mates from school. They never come back after a couple of nights, and I stuck at it. Had my first fight, just turned 12, 1989. Had a decent amateur career. Had 70 amateur fights, won 49. Reached 3 national semi-finals. I reached the junior ABA national final. Won Midlands area titles on numerous occasions. And then I got picked for Young England at 16. Boxed in Jersey for the north of England against the American team captain. Lost on a majority. Was a great scrap, actually. And then turned senior. Went in the ABAs a couple of times. Kept losing to the same lad, Craig Spacey, a very, very good amateur. Did well as a pro as well. And then I got to the stage where I just didn't think I could go any further in the amateurs. So 19 years old, I turned pro. I was one of the youngest professionals in the country. Turned with John Ashton from Kirkby and Ashfield, the other side of Mansfield. And yeah, had a good career. Fought for 2 British titles. Unfortunately, I was unfortunate to come up against world-class fighters in Michael Gomez and Alex Arthur, top-level fighters. So, yeah, that was a shame. I had to fight for the British title and come up against them lads, but gave it a go. Got stopped by both, but proud to say I shared a ring with them. Then I boxed Carl Johansson. I won the WBF world title at Nottingham Arena in 2003 against Benn AJ, and lost it to Carl Johansson, another world-class fighter. So he had a good career, won the Midlands area title with knocked out Nigel Senior. Ended up with 39 fights, 32 wins, 7 defeats. British Masters champion, Midlands area champion, 2 times British title challenger and WBF world champion. So I had a great career. I wasn't the greatest, but I always gave 100%, would fight anybody, had a big heart. And that's what I always install in my fighters. Just give it everything you've got. Show me plenty of balls. You know what I mean? I'll always be with you all the way, because that's what I was as a fighter. I always show plenty of ball. And you've got to have a big heart in this game. You can have all the ability in the world, but if you haven't got the heart as well, then you're never going to go nowhere. So it's very important to me that my fighters show the same as what I did in the ring.
God, I'll tell you, mate. I like how you say I had a pretty good career, and then you reel all that off. That's incredible.
Yeah.
To start at the age of 9, and you know, I won't tell you how old I was, but You know, that's incredible, mate. You know, that's take my hat off to you. You know, to go.
Yeah, I'd probably still be boxing now if the British Boxing Board had control. What happened was I failed a brain scan.
Right.
Routine. You have to have an MRI every year, annual medical, and I had a change in my scan. So 2005, I got the dreaded call saying there's been another change because I actually had another one in 2001, and I got my license back, had a few big fights, and then again in 2005, I got the dreaded call saying there'd been another change. I mean, everyday life, I'm fine. I mean, listen, I'm a promoter, I'm on the ball, I know what I'm doing, never get headaches, never had any trouble at all. So it's just strange that I failed a scan, but it's so detailed, these scans, they bring everything up. And I truly believe that when I went for my scan, it was 2 weeks before I was fighting for a British title eliminator against Stephen Chinnock. And I reckon I was a bit dehydrated, and I never had enough water on my brain, I think, and it showed a lot. But there was a change from the left and right side of my brain that the Board of Control suspended me, and I just thought to myself, you know what, I've got a family, I've got 2 little girls, and at the time there was little anyway, one's 22 today. So I just thought, you know what, that's me done. Shed a few tears, but I always knew I'd stay involved in boxing. I originally had my trainer's license all the way back from 2000 when I failed my scan the first time, because I thought that might be it.
Okay.
So I was training fighters then. So I've been training fighters a long time, 20-odd years, 21 years. I mean, I didn't train them as much when I got my license back, but I've always dabbled in the training, and it was something I just wanted to do. Got my gym, got my manager's license, then I getting fighters coming to me from all over the place, and I thought I need a platform to build these fighters up, especially the ones that want to sell tickets to their own kids. So I got my promoter's license for promoting locally, but putting some nice shows on.
Yeah.
And roll on 2021, I've promoted 147 shows. I've promoted in every area in the country. I've had every champion from area level all the way through to world, whether as a manager or a trainer. So it's remarkable, really, how it's gone. And very proud of myself, if I'd like to say so myself. You know what I mean? I've worked hard. I'm a one-man band. And yeah, so keep going as long as I can.
Yeah. The more you talk, Carl, it's ridiculous. It's, you know, just what you've achieved, and as you say, as a fighter, your career as a fighter was decorated enough, and now you've gone to the next level, and it was no fault of your own. You've gone to the next level, and you're doing it again. And you know, do you still get that same buzz now for what you're doing now as you did as a fighter?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different kind of buzz. You want your lads to do well. You're pushing them all the time, and you want them to do well. I mean, I still get the nerves, especially on the big fights. Yeah. When it's a 50-50 or you're up against it. You know what I mean? You really want to turn the home kid over, and you get a right buzz if you come away with a win when you're the away fighter and you're up against it, and the odds are stacked against you. So that's a great buzz. I mean, I've had many a big night over the years as a trainer and a manager. Been in some big fights, caused a lot of upsets. 90% of my wins have come in the away corner. Even on the big shows, we've always been up against it. So, and that's what's got my foot in the door, getting my fighters a promotional deal with the big boys, because we've caused the upset. They've had us on auctions, and obviously that's how we've got in there. So it's remarkable, really. I've had a few home kids that's had big platforms, from obviously me building them up on the small old shows like John Wayne Hibbert. I got him a deal with Eddie Hearn. He was a massive seller, good fighter. Sam Bowen won the British title on a small old show, which is very rare nowadays. Invested highly in Sam, me and the sponsor, Jordan Road Surfacing. And then when he won the British title against Max Hughes, I got him a promotional deal with Frank Warren. So there's been some good ones. I mean, obviously, Neil Marsh manages David Avanesyan, and I train him. he's got a promotional deal with Matchroom now as well. So, yeah, I mean, I've got my foot in the door the hard way, but I've never really had a start with a fighter from the beginning. You know, with a big promoter. I've done it all myself on my shows, built them up, and then got them in that way.
Well, I think you've got that graft attitude, haven't you? You know, you've done that for your career. You've grafted. You worked hard yourself. So when you get to get to do what you're doing now, you know, you think, I suppose your mindset kind of thinks, well, if I had that sort of leg up as a kid back then, you know, and you've got the opportunity to give that to someone now, haven't you? And it sounds like you're doing an amazing job, mate. It's, you know, David Avanesyan, you know, we'll go to that fight. What a corker.
Yeah. I was always confident. I had a little bit of a doubt every now and again, little negative thoughts coming in my mind, thinking, can Josh Kelly outbox David for the old 12 rounds? Because that's his only way he'd probably beat David. And he did have a style to cause David trouble, but David boxed a perfect fight, executed the game plan perfect, listened to what I was saying in the corner, and I had a long time to study Josh Kelly. I mean, obviously it was over 2 years in the making, that fight. I'd watched him more than any other fighter I've ever watched. And his last 3 fights, I took a lot of confidence from them because I saw a lot of flaws that David could exploit. I knew that Josh liked to fight in burst, and then obviously after he'd done his work, wanted to have a breather. Now, obviously, you could hear me on Sky saying, don't let him breathe. And obviously, in boxing terms, that just means don't give him a second to rest. Once he's done his work, you've got to get on him and do your work, and don't let him get a breather. And that's what we did. And it went perfect, exactly how I expected it, just not as early, to be honest. I thought it'd go, you know what I mean, probably between 7 and 10. But got to him early, and what a win, what a night. I mean, the old team's had a lot of credit for it. Obviously, Neil's done a fantastic job as his manager. Got him over from Russia, invested highly in him, and it's paying dividends now. It's really paying off. And I mean, my name's got out there as a trainer. I mean, I've always trained fighters, always been good at my job, but obviously that win has obviously got my profile out there even more. Especially as a trainer, because I'm probably known more as a manager and a promoter. So all in all, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, no, definitely. What I was going to say was, chuck a random question out there. If that fight was going that way, like going as it was, but you were in the other corner, how would you have dealt with David Avanesyan with Josh Kelly? Because I couldn't see how he was going to. I don't know. David just looked so confident. Like, he believed in himself from the start, didn't he? And he went into that fight, I'm going to win this. You could see it written all over him. And Josh,
100%.
Josh didn't give me that feeling.
No, he just wouldn't be denied, David. I mean, he was like a predator, wasn't he? He was on him. He wouldn't give him a breathe. Even when he was losing the round, he was making Josh work hard for them rounds. And the way to beat David, the way Josh needed to box to beat David was just outboxing. Get on the back foot, use your angles, use your movement, and just keep ramming that jab. But he couldn't keep him off, and it's so hard to keep someone like David off. Like I said in my excited interview after on Sky, it's so hard to keep David off. I've seen it time and time again. Some top level fighters with great boxing skills. They can all do it for a certain length of time, but David always finds a way. And he's just got that desire, that will to win, that hunger. And that's what makes him what he is. That's why he's European champion. This is why he's going to be going heading for world titles, because he's got that little bit of something that a lot of fighters haven't got. And that's that hunger, that big heart, and he will not be denied. And obviously, Josh never had it. He couldn't. I wouldn't say he never had the heart. I mean, he fought until the end. I mean, he got up, and then he went down again. Adam took the towel in rightfully. But listen, he started trying to fight with David because he realised he couldn't keep David off. And when obviously he thought, I'm going to change my tactics here, I heard Adam saying, try and push him back. But when he was trying to close the gap and fight with David, that was his downfall. Because David was hitting him with some lovely short little body shots, and they were taking a lot out of him. And then he went upstairs and he hits hard close range David with them hooks and uppercuts, the solid shots, and that was Kelly's downfall. And that's why the finish ended up sooner than we expected, because he went to try and have a fight with David, and obviously it was totally the wrong tactics.
Yeah, as you say, it's so difficult. Like you were saying, you know, Josh had to box him, but how you can box a guy that just won't leave you alone? He was one of those where he was just on you. He wanted a fight, and Josh didn't, basically, and he just couldn't get his game plan going. And you know, to me, it was a cracking fight. And David, well, hats off to him. You know, maybe one day I'll get him on here. Top bloke. You know, he really worked hard and deserved it. So what's next for David?
Yeah, I've been speaking to Neil today. There's a lot of talk. I mean, Yulusinov's eye up there. Obviously, Olympic champion that beat Kelly. That could be next. There's been a lot of talk about it. So I'll just wait to get the phone call. And obviously, as soon as we get the phone call and the notice, then I'll get David back over and we'll start working again. So I think it'll be sooner than people think. I think he'll be out. I mean, obviously, he's got a contract with Matchroom and he had to be out within 130 days or 135 days. So that's probably the end of June. But I think he'll be out before then. I've got a feeling that they're working on something big.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. It'd be good to see him back out again. And as you say, especially at the moment, you want to get people, you know, you don't want that ring rust. You want people active, you know, especially at the moment. It's bad enough with people having the time to sit down and think, and the mental health side of things. You want to keep people, you know, going, don't you, and active. So
yeah, definitely.
But it was the talk. The thing that got me was when Benn went straight into the training room afterwards, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll see you down the line." You know, that typical Conor style. You know, see you down the line. Brilliant sportsmanship between the two of them. But could you see that fight down the line?
The only way that fight will happen is if David loses. If David loses, then it could be a fight that would be a step up for Conor, and obviously David's coming down a little bit of level. If he loses his next fight, that's when it could happen. And obviously they'll see if it's a step up for Conor to see if he's at that level. And if he beats David, then obviously he'll go on to bigger things. If he don't, then we know his level. But I was a little bit annoyed the other week. I was on TalkSport and I had a great interview. I loved it. And he got mentioned Conor Benn. And I just said, at the moment, it's a step backwards for David. I mean, we're looking at pushing on to bigger things. Conor needs a few big fights to get to David's level, in my opinion. And I wasn't being disrespectful. I just said, look, if Conor and David fought now, it'd just be a proper, it'll be like an Hagler-Earns type fight, in my opinion. They'd just go at it, that sort of style. Conor likes a fight, and David will never shy away from a fight if it's there. And it'd be like 3 or 4 brutal rounds, but I just feel that David would be way too much for him at the moment and get him out of there. Now, when Conor come on after I'd been on, he was saying that I said that he'd lack stamina and all that, and I didn't say that. They twisted it completely, so it was a little bit annoying because I respect Conor. I think he's the most improved fighter in Britain, possibly in the world. He's done remarkable from his early days. He was terrible on his debut and early fights. I mean, they've done a fantastic job with him. I think Tony Sims takes a lot of credit for that. But as we stand at the moment,
he said recently he hates people saying he's the most improved fighter.
He hates it.
He said he can't, because he said it's one of those things where, when am I going to be one of those fighters that's not the most improved fighter? When are people going to start taking me seriously? And it was like, well, I think he's read it wrong. It's like people are saying, you know, you came out as sort of this guy that was swinging and wanting to get people out and making a statement every time. And now he's got so much to his game. And, you know, the Jesse Vargas fight he's got, in April is going to be a tough fight, I think. But
Yeah.
But, you know, I think if he shows what he did in his last one against Formella, wasn't it? I think
Yeah.
he is going up each time. I can't see a problem with that. I think that's a compliment.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, listen, the most improved fighter. I mean, we've got to be honest, he's got to sit back and look at his debut. And then he'll say to himself, bloody hell, I've improved 100%. I mean, because you'd never believe he's where he is today, watching them performances. So I don't think it's knocking him. I think it's a credit to how well he's done and how far he's come. You know what I mean? Fair play to him. And I like him. He's a good kid. He come in the change rooms. I've got a lot of respect for him. Follow each other on Twitter and that. I ain't got a bad word to say about him. I just think that at this moment in time that he's not ready for David. And I think David will stop him 3 or 4 rounds. It'll be a reason being like that is because Conor will come and have a scrap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because that's how he fights. He's heart on his sleeve. That's how he boxes. And at the moment in time, he's just not ready for David. But who says in the future, you know what I mean, that it won't happen, because all it takes is David to lose and Conor to keep winning, and they might look at it as a bit of a crossroads fight. You know what I mean? But we're looking at bigger things. We want a world title fight. We want an eliminator. Then I want to go for a world title. I mean, he's proved since the Kowalski's defeat a couple of 3 years ago how much he's improved. He's a completely different fighter. You know what I mean? He's had 4 stoppages in a row now. Not been past 9 rounds. He's had 2 first-round stoppages, a 9-round stoppage, a 6-round stoppage. And against good fighters, I mean, Kerman Lijaraga, I mean, formidable fighter. You know what I mean? Went over to Bill Barron, dismantled him twice in front of 12,000 hostile Basque supporters, as they say, from the Basque country. So, unbelievable, yeah.
No, as I say, I look forward to seeing, you know, David Avanesyan getting back out there again, because it was almost like he just showed you a little glimpse, really, in that Josh Kelly fight of what he's capable of. I don't think he showed the whole package, but he showed that glimpse of what he's able to do. And I think a world title isn't out of his grasp at all, is it? He's so close. And I think, like you were saying, you get him into that eliminator and then push him on. And 2 fights down the line, we could be looking at a world champ, couldn't we?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, listen, I know he fought Peterson, Lamont Peterson, for the WBA regular world title. He was actually champion going in there because he was interim world champion and Keith Thurman vacated. So David actually went in there as a champion, but underperformed. He was terrible that night for his standards. And even what I've said to people, David was getting in the ring too small. I mean, he was making welterweight easy, getting in the ring at no more than 11 stone, putting 6-7 pound on. And these top level world championship fighters, they're getting in the ring at like 18 pound heavier. Although I don't always agree with it, because I think a lot of it's not good weight. And if you're putting that much weight on after making 10-7, then you're in the wrong weight category, in my opinion. But it worked for him, and they were just too big for David. But he's learned a lot from them fights, and since the Peterson and Kowalski's defeat, he's become a different person, a different fighter, a different man. His mindset's changed, and yeah, we're smashing it.
Yeah, you certainly are, mate. I have to say. But you know, is there anyone else down at the gym that we've got to look out for? Is there any lads coming up?
Yeah, you know what? I've got some fantastic prospects. I've probably got the best stable I've ever had, talent-wise, and the pedigree they've got from the amateurs. They all had good amateur careers. There wasn't superstars, obviously. All the elite superstars would get signed up by the big boys, and I always end up with one of the average kids, but had good careers in the amateurs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I try and do the best I can with them, and I'm really, really confident that I've got 3 or 4 kids that could win at least a British title, if not more. I've got about 15 kids that I'm building up nicely, sell a good ticket, and I can work with them and get them the right fights at the right time, and then obviously get them into mandatory positions, and that's where things start getting interesting, because if you get them in mandatory positions for English titles and then you win that, you get them in positions for the British, You know what I mean? That's how you get in with the big boys if they don't want to work with you from the start with them.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do. But I've got that many. I don't really want to names because I'd end up missing some out, and then I'll be getting a call the next day. Oh, you've missed me out, Gaffer. What's happening? So, but I've got loads of good fighters. I mean, I train probably a dozen, about 10, 12 fighters. Obviously, I train David at different times. He's a specialised fighter, one-on-one we do. He's the only fighter I've really worked with on a full-time basis, and obviously it's showing in the results. All the other kids are working at the minute, unfortunately. You get a bit of time off before a fight from sponsorship and obviously holidays from working that. But on the whole, they're just training 3 or 4 times a week with me. But hopefully we build them up to 10, 15 and 0, and we can start looking at getting them in full time and getting them some bigger fights and bigger paydays.
Yeah, no, definitely sounds like the future's bright, Carl. Definitely sounds.
Yeah, very, very exciting times. I mean, I've signed a few good kids up in lockdown as well that was good amateurs, and would have probably stayed on in the amateurs if it wasn't for the situation they're in, because amateur boxing is in a mess. They're not allowed to train. They're not allowed in the gyms. Obviously, professionals are fortunate enough to be able to train. So that's a good thing. And a lot of these kids now that would have stayed on for the ABAs and tried to get in the England team and GB, they've sacked it off and they want to turn pro.
Yeah, this is the difficulty with the grassroots, isn't it? At the moment, it's taking a real slap at the moment, isn't it? And it's a shame because they said you're almost going to miss out like a generation of fighters because that they've had to go and do different stuff because they haven't had a choice, and then they end up getting into those jobs and they're sort of drift. So there's some that will hang in there and wait, won't they? But it's just a tough time. But hopefully, with stuff good old Uncle Boris, who's going to start reopening stuff a bit more soon, and we can get stuff moving again. But yeah, the news the other day, Carl, I'll chuck this at you, before I end it. Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Before you say who you think, who you'd want to win, what one would you rather promote?
Joshua would rather promote because he's a massive, massive draw in there. You know what I mean? He's the face of Matchroom. He's the face of British boxing, really. I mean, Tyson lets himself down sometimes in the way he carries on. Just one of the lads in it from, down the road. Listen, we love that. It's great, you know what I mean? But the public look at him and take him as a bit of a joke sometimes, you know what I mean? They don't take him serious. But listen, Tyson's a great fighter, and I believe he wins that fight. You know what I mean? If his head's on it and he's on the ball and that, I believe he can win that fight. He's got the skills and the boxing ability to outbox Joshua, but heavyweights, anything can happen, and Joshua is a serious puncher, and we've seen Tyson down a few times, you know what I mean, and we've always got up and won, and we've seen Joshua down a few times, you know what I mean. It's one of them fights, but it'd be explosive, it'd be exciting, it's great for British boxing, fantastic. But listen, we're hearing it's signed and sealed, but then I'm hearing that Frank Warren has said a few things tonight that he said that Eddie shouldn't release things because nothing's signed and sealed. So it's fun and games already. So until there's a date, well, listen, I won't even say until there's a date, until they're actually in that ring, then they ain't a fight, because boxing's a funny game. And obviously I've been in that position with David and with Josh Kelly, you know what I mean? Even when we was told the fight was on and that, and even when we'd all passed the COVID test and that, I still had my doubts, you know what I mean? Until there was actually in that ring and the bell went, then obviously that was it was on. But it's a funny game, boxing. Things are always going on and happening. And but listen, I hope it happens. It's massive for Britain. It's one of the biggest fights ever in Britain, probably the biggest fight. So we want to see it. It's very intriguing. They've both got a way to win, but I think Tyson's got the more skill. He ain't the biggest of punches, but he's good mobility, good angles. He boxes a bit like a middleweight, really. for such a big man. Great footwork, great movement. But Joshua can punch, and he is starting to box a bit better himself. I mean, he used to be a bit heavy-legged, didn't he? But he's shown in a few of his fights lately that he's got a little bit of movement himself. So it's an interesting one. But I think my money would be on Tyson.
Yeah, it's apparently I won't tell you who I'm gonna go with, because every time I speak to someone else, they pull me in the other direction. It's getting really annoying now.
I might end up changing my mind the closer it gets. But I've always gone with Tyson. I've said him from the start. I just feel he's got that little bit more skill, that little bit more about him as a boxer. But Joshua can punch, but he's a little bit chinny in my opinion. He reminds me a bit of a Frank Bruno type fighter. You know what I mean? I always said it about Joshua. When he turned over, he looked exciting. Everyone was raving about him. I've been up against him actually with Paul Butlin. When I managed Paul Butlin, I did his corner and he boxed Joshua on his second fight. So I've seen him up close hand, but I always had my little doubts about him. You know what I mean? With his chin and that. And because heavyweight boxing's, you know what I mean? You've got to really want to enjoy it, because it's, you know what I mean? You can see, you can just see where that one punch can change a lot in heavyweight boxing. And we've seen it time and time again. These kids, these heavyweights look absolutely fantastic. And then when they get it on them whiskies, they just fold.
Yeah, it's like Bambi on ice, isn't it, with some of them? And, you know, but, you know, you look at the Joshua side of it, the positives, you know, as you were saying, when you looked at Frank Bruno, that's exactly what I was going to say. You look at the comparisons, and it was almost the bodybuilder top half.
Yeah.
They were almost robotic and quite, you know, static up top and don't move too much. But, you know, since that Ruiz first fight, the slim down and the chisel down that he went into that second fight, so much better. You know, like you were saying, the movement, he proved that he had a different side to his game. He did what he had to do, didn't he? And then against Pulev, you know, I think he went up another notch to say, look, I've still got the power again. So as you say, the nearer it gets, I'm sure I could probably speak to you nearer the time, and we're going to be like this seesaw, isn't it? But, you know, 2-fight deal as well. They've still got to announce, you know, the date and all this sort of thing. It's probably going to be Saudi Arabia or somewhere over that side of the world, I would have thought, you know, because of the money as well as getting a crowd in. So, interesting times, mate. Interesting times. But
yeah, it's a great fight. Fantastic for British boxing, and we need it to happen. If it don't happen, it'll be a travesty, won't it? I mean, we need it to happen, mate. I mean, it's talked about. They're saying it's signed and sealed. Let's get a date. Let's get a venue, and then a little bit heading in the right direction.
Yeah, but no, I really appreciate your time, Carl.
No worries, mate.
It's your daughter's birthday, isn't it, today?
Yeah, she's 22. She's got her own place and that now, mate. So yeah, she's a big girl now.
I'm sure she'd appreciate it.
I actually had her when I was 22, so it's crazy, isn't it? You know what I mean?
You're probably
she's nowhere near it and ready for kids yet, and I had her at 22. It's mad how things change.
I know. I think I was saying this to my mates who don't have kids. I said, you forget when you've got your own kids, you're watching them grow up, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, bloody hell, where's the time gone? Like, when did I become? You know,
unbelievable, mate. It's unbelievable.
But
time waits for no one. It just goes like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
As my mum always said, cherish your youth because it's soon gone.
Yeah. Wise words from mum. Wise words. But happy birthday to your daughter, and thanks for coming on, Carl. I really appreciate it. And
thanks, Joel. Thanks for having me on, mate. You're top man.
No worries at all.
Right. Take care, buddy.
Yeah, take care.
See you later, mate. Cheers.
Thanks, mate. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, mate.
Yeah, that was Carl Greaves. What a top bloke. Really privileged to have him on. Fantastic boxing career. And now, you know, he's doing the trainer role, manager role, promoter role. He's doing the full works, and you know, hats off to him. What a career, and what he's doing with David Avanesyan, incredible. And now he's got those youngsters coming through. He's really making even more of a name for himself. So I wish him all the best for the future. And yeah, thanks for coming on, Carl. You've been watching JG's Fight Talk, sponsored by Rich's Boxing. Yeah, quality. Thank you very much. Take care.